Hey there, it's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware, and this right here is the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders, built by ASUS and branded for Qualcomm. You can tell by the not-so-subtle Snapdragon logo styling on the box, but sliding open its carefully crafted cardboard bay doors unveils a message from the Qualcomm team. You deserve extra. Why, yes. Yes, I do, in fact, except for maybe extra trips to the dentist and stuff like that. Regardless, as Qualcomm notes on its website, this phone is for Snapdragon insiders who look under the hood, who are first in line for premium performance and innovation, and for those who crave the fastest, truly global 5G connectivity available. Well now, these are mighty big claims. Let's take a look, shall we? Digging in a bit further, we have a pair of premium active noise-canceling earbuds by Master and Dynamic that are included in the Snapdragon Insider bundle with the phone. These buds are based on Qualcomm's QCC5141 Bluetooth audio SoC. They support ultra-low latency streaming and 24-bit 96 kHz audio, along with aptX Voice super wideband technology for top-shelf voice call quality. They also come in a handy-dandy charging case. We'll circle back on these in a little bit, but also bundled in is a 65-watt Qualcomm Quick Charge 5 adapter for fast wired charging and a custom rubber bumper for edge protection and that anti-slip grip. Getting a closer look at the phone itself, it's obviously a large device with a 6.78-inch Full HD Samsung AMOLED 144Hz display with a 2448 by 1080 resolution and 1 millisecond response time. That display is punchy and vibrant, to say the least, at 1200 nits of peak brightness with HDR10 Plus certification, offering over 110% of the DCI P3 color gamut coverage. It's also strapped with Corning Gorilla Glass Victus for improved drop and scratch resistance. Whether you're in gaming, productivity, or movie watching mode, this is one gorgeous display. It looks great no matter what you throw at it, with all the inky saturation of OLED and a silky smooth 144 Hz refresh rate that can be hard set or left adaptive, depending on your use case and preference. Make no mistake though, the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders is a large device with a bit of a chin on both top and bottom. Compared to our OnePlus 9 Pro here, you can see just how large it is, but this also allows for better thermal dissipation, as we'll get to shortly. Under the hood, as you may have guessed, is Qualcomm's flagship Snapdragon 888 mobile platform SoC, which is powered by an octal-core 64-bit processor at 2.84 GHz. Also on board is 16 gigs of LPDDR5 memory and 512 gigs of fast UFS 3.1 flash storage. Graphics are powered by Qualcomm's Adreno 660 GPU integrated. All of this is backed up by a 4,000 mAh battery and support for Qualcomm Quick Charge 5 charging technology with an included 65-watt charger, as we mentioned before. It's claimed to charge up to 70% of the battery in just 30 minutes, and we will say indeed this little brick does top off the phone crazy fast, but we do wish there was wireless charging on board as well. Taking a walk around the exterior a bit more, you can see the phone's screen lock, power button, and volume rocker are both on the right edge, while the bottom edge is home to a USB-C sync and charge port, a speaker port, a mic port, and a dual SIM tray slot. Incidentally, of course, the Snapdragon Insiders phone supports all 5G bands, both sub-6 and millimeter wave, and on virtually any carrier network, though carrier certification is still in process, we're told, as the phone hasn't quite started shipping at retail yet. The left side is clean, while on top there's a mic port, and there's actually a quad array of Infineon mics with what Qualcomm refers to as high dynamic range recording capability with noise reduction. In addition to that bottom-firing speaker, there's another top-firing earpiece speaker, and the system is supported by Qualcomm's acoustic smart speaker amplification for louder output and deeper bass. In general, would concur, and this is one of the better-sounding smartphone solutions we've heard recently. Couple this with Qualcomm's premium earbuds by Master and Dynamic, and the audio solution here is on point. for a flagship smartphone bundle. These are actually pre-production units, however, and Qualcomm has pre-installed its Snapdragon Sound app to help dial in the audio experience, but we're told audio fidelity will get even more impressive for Snapdragon Insiders when commercial units ship and firmware updates are included. On the back side of the device is where a lot of the action is, and here you can get a good view of the phone's midnight blue matte finish, which I quite like. It resists fingerprints well and feels great in the hand, though admittedly it's so smooth that it's a bit slippery, so it's advisable to use that included bumper for a bit of extra grip. Regardless, this is a great looking phone with red accents and an illuminated Snapdragon logo that looks like a chip when its backlight pulsates. It's a cool style accent, and you can flip it off to preserve battery life, of course, as well. Also back here, you've got a triple threat camera array consisting of a primary 64 megapixel shooter powered by Sony's IMX686 sensor, which is about as good as it gets these days, save perhaps for the Sony IMX789 found in the OnePlus 9 Pro. The 789 has digital overlap HDR, which might have an advantage in more challenging mixed light situations, but otherwise on paper the sensors are fairly comparable, and this is an excellent primary camera array with f1.8 aperture lens. Also back here you've got a 12 megapixel dual pixel ultra wide camera with f2.2 aperture and an 8 megapixel dedicated telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom and up to a 12x total zoom. Both telephoto and primary shooters have 4-axis optical image stabilization as well. And of course on front you've got a 24 megapixel front-facing selfie cam with a 27mm equivalent focal length for the lens. On the software side of things, Qualcomm and ASUS set up this device with delightfully bone stock Android 11, with no skinning and only a few hooks for specialized functionality like Snapdragon Sound and the phone's various performance modes. These modes include Dynamic, which is the default setting of the phone, and High Performance that optimizes processor and networking performance and sets the screen refresh rate locked to 144 Hz. The camera app is pretty straightforward with the usual shot modes here, including portrait and night mode, though a full-featured Pro mode is lacking for some reason. However, there's also an innovative AI auto zoom tracking mode that will focus on a subject, zoom in automatically, and switch between the rear cameras while doing so, and frame the subject. It's actually a really thoughtful feature, but it seems to be a bit of a work in process currently. So, how does this all play out in terms of still and video image quality? Well, at this point, this Snapdragon Insider phone's camera chops are fairly impressive. However, Qualcomm is still working on a firmware update that will improve things even more, we're told. In fact, the phone has chalked up a DxO mark of 132, ranking it as #1 for phone cameras in the US and #6 worldwide, though those performance results were taken on that forthcoming firmware revision. In the meantime, our results speak for themselves, so let's take a look. In challenging mixed lighting shots like this, even compared to the likes of the excellent OnePlus 9 Pro with its Hasselblad camera array, the Snapdragon Insider's phone looks strong with excellent detail, though perhaps a bit overexposed in spots. Similarly, with Yogi on the stairs here, we see actually better detail from the Qualcomm branded ASUS phone, though color balance is a bit muted. Shifting gears to portrait mode, we see excellent detail and isolation of the shot subject with quality bokeh blur that's not overdone or too noisy, while standard bright daylight shots look pretty great as well with excellent color reproduction. Finally, night mode shots look solid as well with just a hint of noise, though the fire pit in this shot here is likely injecting some noise into the capture as well. Overall, color us impressed. We're looking forward to the Snapdragon Insider's phone software update that's reportedly going to improve camera performance even more. Side note, how about a little 4K 60 video shooting? Yogi approves, though he still has not decided to actually play fetch for real. Thanks, buddy. On the performance front, Qualcomm's Snapdragon 888 really shines in this phone with easily some of the top scores we've seen from any Android handset in the benchmarks yet. FutureMark's PC Mark for Android shows the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders at the top of the pack, besting even the Red Magic 6R and the OnePlus 9, two of the fastest phones we've ever tested in this benchmark. Cross-checking that with a little N228, and we see more of the same, even with more test subjects at our disposal, like the ASUS potent ROG Phone 5 gaming phone, where the Snapdragon Insiders phone takes the lead by a comfortable margin yet again. On the gaming and graphics front, the new Snapdragon flagship once again chalks up top-notch scores, though it's pretty tight grouping here among Snapdragon 888 powered phones in general with the 3D Mark Wildlife benchmark. However, when it comes to performance over time and thermal saturation, the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders doesn't give up much when it comes to thermal bleed, maintaining over 80% of its performance over the full 20-minute wildlife stress test. We're still working on battery life numbers with the Snapdragon Insiders phone, but our early results are encouraging enough in the phone's dynamic mode that engages the display's 144 Hz refresh rate that does consume a bit more power. No doubt the phone's endurance mode will afford better results, but check out our full review at hothardware.com for all the numbers, which we'll have up shortly. At $14.99 for the bundle with the Snapdragon sound-enabled ANC buds and Quick Charge 5 adapter I showed you earlier, this is a rather pricey flagship Android phone to be sure, but for the ultra-premium experience and performance it offers, the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders is a definite head-turner and a really well-engineered premium phone that delivers. But be sure to swing by hothardware.com for our full review with a ton more benchmark results, image samples, and analysis. And hit thumbs up and subscribe to our channel here if you'd be so kind, and elsewhere on the web where you can find us at Hot Hardware and hothardware.com. It's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware with the decked out and dialed smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders. Thanks for stopping by.